And so the very spirit and the foundation of policing, it has to change. Policing has to do better in selecting individuals to be those police, because I'm 68 years old. I cannot count how many times I have been pulled over for driving for being black.
Hey y'all, I'm Lalanii Wilson-Jones, a Texas mogul with businesses throughout the state of Texas. And this is the show where we're spilling the tea on the bosses that I know.
It's time for Big Texas Bossin with Lalanii Wilson-Jones. Spilling the tea on Bossin Up.
Today I have Dr. David E. Wilson, pastor of Greater Cornerstone Baptist Church. We have a long history together, and I'm sure that you all will love this man as much as I do. Greater Cornerstone participates in the community, and Dr. David Wilson is involved in the community in the Dallas area and has been for a long time. One of the things that he does with the church that I love is an annual community fair, and in that there's a health fair. So you get to meet people that you don't normally meet or you wouldn't. He brings out doctors, he brings out different companies, he brings out home care companies, and anybody who's a part of the community gets to participate in the event. So without any further ado, and you all will get to know him very well on this segment, let me introduce you to my pastor, Dr. David E. Wilson.
Good morning.
Good morning. How you doing?
I'm doing better than I deserve. Thank you for having me with you. I'm glad to be here. And I'm glad I get to say that I'm so honored and so proud to know you and have known you and have the friendship and membership relationship that we have.
Yes. Thank you. You know that I love you. I love your family. And so I appreciate and honor the fact that you were able to be here with us today. Why don't we talk a little bit about the foundations of Greater Cornerstone and how you got started? Because I know you had a journey. So let's talk it out for aspiring ministers, people aspiring in business, because the church is a business. Yes. Let's talk about what that takes to get where you are.
Okay. Well, actually this month we are celebrating 36 years of the life of Greater Cornerstone. I was led of God to step out on faith by being obedient to Him and start this ministry. We started this ministry with my family and two other families. And over the 36 years, I have to admit, God has been extremely good to us.
Absolutely.
We are excited about our journey. Of late, we went through some challenges. We went through a tornado that tore the church up. Then we went into pandemic.
Yes.
And so we are in a position of restructuring and reorganizing and reinventing ourselves and staying with our commitment of serving people.
Right, as any business is that's gone through and been able to survive the pandemic. Yes. That's only a natural course. So let's talk about Greater Cornerstone's commitment to the community and the foundations of which those are built and the things that you do personally, because you give a lot. Your time, you give to other organizations, and you are involved in the community, truly boots on. You're not just someone sitting back in your office waiting on things to happen. So let's talk about all of the good stuff.
I'm just honored to have the privilege to serve the community. We have served in a number of ways. I think back in our early days where I ran into youth who lived in the community that we serve predominantly. And many of those youth never had vacations, never been out of town. So at that time, we started taking them on vacation to the convention every year. And then we moved to supporting youth. Education is what we believe that you got to have if you're going to do anything to be a productive citizen and to be happy with your life. So we have supported our youth in going to college. We give scholarships to every graduating senior. We have given ourselves in supporting the community with job fairs. We do, of course, our annual event where we invite businesses and individuals who have services that they can provide to the community. And of course, our number one thing is winning the lost to Christ.
Absolutely. Let's talk about that and how, in an age of technology and after the pandemic, how do you stay engaged with members in the community in order to keep your organization thriving?
Well, during the pandemic, what we did is that we probably pioneered COVID vaccines. We have stayed the course with distributing food to the community, and COVID made you redo ministry. Right. COVID made you look in yourself and come up with ways to reach out to people. And as a result, we did our online platforms, streaming, for Facebook Live, YouTube, and all those services. And you just had to stay with it. You had to be creative, and you still have to be creative. And as a result of COVID, there are people who probably won't be coming back to the building.
Right.
But you still have to provide ministry. You have to provide what you do to meet their needs. You just have to look for other ways of being evangelistic in your outreach.
Okay, and what would you say one of the biggest ways you've changed your outreach during COVID and during the pandemic? Because the lives were beautiful, but it was the choir and you. Well, 4 members of the choir, wasn't the full choir.
No.
But yeah.
Well, we were blessed because, during the pandemic, they literally shut the church down.
Right.
And so they told you how many people could be in the facility during that time. So we had to come up with a crew. And the crew, thankfully, we have people who are committed and have been longtime members that stepped up, and we went from a choir to our praise team. And we had to go from all of the other things that we provided, like church school and auxiliary meetings. We had to move them from being in person to also doing them online via Zoom or other platforms.
Okay. Awesome. And how did you keep up during COVID with the community outreach? Because Greater Cornerstone does do a lot. So were you able to, or has that kind of been tabled and then just getting back to it?
Well, it hasn't been tabled. We just had to look for other ways to do it, and probably had to downsize some of our efforts, but not cut out our efforts.
Right. Well, it's all par for business, so certainly understandable. Now, you are Greater Cornerstone, but you're also so much more than that. Let's talk about some of the things that you do that are auxiliary. Let's talk about how you impact other ministers. I want everybody to know, tell them how you went to college. You do have a college degree. You have a doctorate degree. Let's talk about some of those things. Your journey may not have been as easy. So for the young man who is the 16-year-old you, who may or may not know that he wants to be a minister, how does that work?
Well, my journey has been a tough journey. but I wouldn't take anything for my journey. I came to Dallas to go to Bishop College. Didn't have no money.
Right. And for those of you who don't know, Bishop College is now currently where we know Paul Quinn College. Right. So prior to that, Bishop College was a HBCU that became defunct, and Paul Quinn took over their campus.
Right. And I came to Bishop. I determined that if I was going to preach, I needed to prepare myself to be the best preacher I could be. And Bishop College was the place that would give me that training. So I loaded up my car, kind of like the Beverly Hillbillies. I loaded up my car and moved to Dallas. And got to Dallas, didn't have no money, but the Lord told me to go to school. So I remember very clearly one day at admissions, they were telling me I needed X amount of dollars, and I was saying, I don't have the dollars, but the Lord told me to come to Bishop. So I sit there in President Curry's office all day.
Camped out.
I just sit there because the Lord told me to come. And finally, he saw my commitment to my calling, and the rest is history.
Awesome.
I stuck the course. And that's my journey. I have been blessed being in Dallas after following the leading of the Holy Spirit to experience many great opportunities. I presently am the president of the Interdenominational Ministerial Alliance, which is the oldest African American ecumenical organization in the city. And moving from, rather than saying oldest, I'll just say we're a 90-year-old organization of churches of all denominations that partner in benefiting the lives, especially of our people.
And that's awesome. So tell us a little bit about the organization and what it does on an annual basis for the community, and how that's such a big impact on what you do.
We give ourselves, first of all, to promoting social justice and equality for our communities. Annually, we have a human relations banquet where we honor individuals who have excelled in business or community service or teaching or just a number of areas, and we recognize them in that celebration, and in that we provide scholarships out of that to students across the city.
That's awesome. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about, because Dallas has been a hotbed the last few years with racial inequality and different things. Let's specifically talk about the Botham situation and how that impacted your delivery as a minister in the community. I mean, do you stand up and do the Al Sharpton thing, or do you take a laid-back approach? Well, what is the consensus, and how do you feel we're doing as far as working on racial equality and the inequities, addressing the inequities that occur on a daily basis?
I tell you, I don't know, we don't stand up and do the Sharpton thing. We stand up and do the right thing. What we have, our organization came into existence because of the injustices and the racism that exist in Dallas. If you do your homework, you know Dallas is actually a very racist city underneath. It has a history of racism in that there was a time when Dallas is served as the headquarters for the Ku Klux Klan. And Dallas also, at one time, in all of its power seats in the city, were occupied by Klans people. Our challenge today is is that they're not wearing the hoods. Our challenge today is that the spirit of what goes on is no different than what went on to bring us to where we are. Our greatest discomfort right now is the inequity financially. People of color have difficulty, whether it's in residence or in business, getting the financial backing that others get.
All right, y'all. Before we continue,
Altruist Home Care Solutions is one of the top accredited home health care agencies servicing North and East Texas. With over 25 years of caring for Texas families, Altruist's network of staff has become the preferred provider of physical and occupational therapy, wound, post-surgery, and primary care within the comfort of your home. Altruist Home Health Care works in conjunction with you, your loved ones, and your primary care physician to provide stellar care with honor and integrity. For more information on our services, visit our website www.altruisthhc.com or call us at 214-328-8600. Now back to the show.
I don't get the big boy contracts, as I would call them, to do the services that I provide equally as well, if not better, than other institutions that aren't minority based. I don't get the seat at the table with the physicians so that I can have access to their business and the things that they could stream. But it's my people that are using these doctors. It's my people that are going to these clinics. It's my people that are in these facilities, and they're saying, well, no, you need this, you need that. Well, no. And a lot of times they don't even have the hood on. It's just a flat out no. So definitely I've experienced that. As a serial entrepreneur, you always evaluate where you are, and you're like, well, I could be doing so much better. And you do everything that you can do, and it's still not enough to earn the business that you should rightfully have. Institutions put other facilities in minority communities, and they won't even give that. They'll send it to another facility that's in a Frisco or somebody that's been around forever, a 50-year 501c3 business, and give it to them. You know, I know how to serve my people. I don't need you turning me down and me having to go, you know, the extra mile marketing. Everything is just extra. And that's why you see all the Big Texas stuff popping. If you follow any of my brands, you see that they're popping. And yes, the extra is necessary because of where we are. It's just necessary. I'm extra. That's necessary.
Our people in business, they have to jump through more hoops than other people. And one of the things that concerns me is you can come to our country you can come to Dallas or any other state in the United States from another country. 3 months after you've been here, you can go to the bank and get money to do whatever you want to do. We've been here all our lives and still,
we built the country.
Yeah, we still are struggling. And so our challenge today as we're going forward is dealing in the financial arena to ensure that we get a fair seat at the table.
Okay, and what are you and your organizations doing to make sure that we're getting or fighting for that justice?
Well, right now we are bringing attention to the injustices. We are doing a survey of all of the financial institutions, exposing their practices and the percentage of their commitment to our communities. And so we are serious about that. And the best we can do is stand up, expose them, and demand that there be a change.
Okay.
You know, they talk about hate crimes. They talk about all of the social things that happen to racists. But I think the biggest hate crime in our country is economic injustices.
Right, absolutely. Economic injustice and keeping people in suffrage and poverty goes a long way, especially in 2022. So what are you employing and trying to empower banks and financial institutions to do specifically for people of color, specifically for Black people? And do you think that the changes that are necessary will come?
I think they will come. I don't know when they will come, but I think they will come if we stay at it. And what we are doing is we're doing assessments, and we're calling them to give an account of their unfair practices.
So Chase, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, all the big powerhouses are going to give an account of what they're doing. I know that my daughter called me the other day and was like, is this true? Bank of America is giving to Blacks and Hispanics. They're giving loans for first-time home buyers that no interest or no down payment if you qualify. I'm like, yeah, that might be true, but the qualifications. So how do we get past that? Are we persistent, or is it going to take legislation to get them to do the right thing?
I'm not sure if legislation will do it. I think it's going to take persistence on our part. Now, I do support and compliment our President Biden, who has issued some laws and some demands on these banks and government entities to bring Black businesses in to give them a fair share at some of the monies that are being spent. I think it's a great opportunity for some. We just got to see how far they go with it.
Okay.
They're talking about it, but they're not doing nothing about it.
Right. And are we ready? And this might be like a controversial question, but are we ready as a people to accept that? Or do you think we're beyond ready? Because we're always held to a different standard. We're always held to a higher standard. And the calling is always greater. I know for me, it's always been greater. You were denied because of this. Your shoe wasn't tied. The dot wasn't fine enough on the I back when we were having to handwrite everything. And are we ready?
I think we're beyond ready. We've been ready.
Okay.
And so I'm just waiting for the doors to open to help us in doing what we've been ready. We've been ready because we've helped them get to where they get to. You know, there's that thing that we've always had to be more qualified.
Absolutely.
To get to the table. And
absolutely.
So, yes, ma'am, I have to say, without a doubt. But can I share this with you? What has happened is you've been out there and you try to fight that battle by yourself. In a way, I hate to say it, but we've kind of disconnected from some power or some resources that actually could carry us over. And that is organizations like ours. There is no way you should go through what you go through and have to stand and argue by yourself.
Right.
You should invite somebody in to fight with you. Say what's going on and
become
what you
part
run
of the
into, and bring a historical group that has a track record of making a difference, and let them speak not only for you but speak with you. Go to the table to argue what you need and what they need to do to benefit your business.
Absolutely. Let's talk about you've been a long time civil rights in terms of police injustices and police brutality here. Dallas was recently highlighted with the Bolton John slain a few years ago, and we even got a boulevard named after him. Where do you stand? What is your personal belief on police brutality and the things that we should do? Do you see Dallas in particular changing the methods that are used, and how do you feel about young black men in today's society?
Well, when you talk about the methods, Dallas is going to have to change. But we got to go back and understand that that policing philosophy and practice was started in a way to, what would they say? Policing was started to find slaves and keep slaves in their place.
Enslaved.
And so the very spirit and the foundation of policing, it has to change. Policing has to do better in selecting individuals to be those police, because I'm 68 years old. I cannot count how many times I have been pulled over for driving for being black. I cannot count how many times I have been held and pulled over because I look like somebody. That's still going on today. But the challenge is, in our communities, they pull us over, they harass us. When you think about west of the tollway on Walnut Hill, when the police go in that community, they go in as concierge providing a public service.
Right.
When they pull you over, and you think about Redbird West, they pull you over like we living in a war zone. And so the very spirit has to change. There's been a lot of talk about it changing, but we got to stay vigilant, and we got to stay with it.
Right. How do you think our police chief is doing?
It's still too early. He talks good, and I actually was on the board, a board that interviewed him.
Okay.
And he has good PR. He has good relationship with the community. I believe his heart is right, but he's not the one out on the streets.
Right.
It's those people out on the streets that he's going to have to hold accountable.
Right. And do you think that when the time comes to hold them accountable, he will?
Yes, I think he will do the best he can, and the rest will depend on our courts, and it would depend on our communities demanding change.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And Dallas is blue right now.
Mm-hmm.
How long do you think we'll stay blue, and do you see us staying the course for change?
I believe we'll stay the course for change. Staying blue really is contingent upon the persons that we have representing us in these elected positions. And so we're, and these politicians, we got to hold their feet to the fire to insist that they do what we elected them to do.
Right. So let's talk about the importance of voting and how you feel we can make a bigger impact on getting out to vote. What do we need to do as a community?
We need to vote. If we don't vote, then we don't have a right to protest. We don't have a right to even publicly talk about what we see is wrong. If we're going to make a difference, we're going to have to vote. And we're going to have to vote people that have our best interests at heart.
Absolutely.
And it's voting time, early voting now.
I know I will be early voting Monday, so
Okay.
yes, I will. All right. What would you say to the young man that, or young woman now, because we do have a lot of women in ministry, what would you say to the person who said, hey, I want to be a minister, a pastor, I want to be a community activist, I want to sit on boards, I want to engage with my community? What would you say to them as far as their journey? What's the best advice that you would
I
give?
would say when it comes to pastoring and preaching, if you can keep from doing it, don't do it.
Why would you recommend not to do it?
Because you have to be called of God to do this. And when you're called of God, then you don't quit. You continue to trust God, and you continue to do what you do by faith. If you just go out there and get a job, you're going to quit because it ain't the easiest thing you could do. And dealing with people could be probably one of the challenging experiences of a life. And they will make you quit
Yes.
if you're doing it for them.
Right. So you keep your spirit and your drive because you know you're doing it for God. What is the biggest piece of advice that you could give? If you didn't know me from Adam and I walked up to you on the street and you had one nugget you wanted to leave with me, what would that be?
Trust in God.
I love it. I love it. Yes.
In fact, that's so real. I keep a reminder on my wrist that I'm trusting God.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Is there anything else that you'd like for the listeners to know?
Stay with it.
Stay the course.
Lonnie, I thank you. I do want to thank you for what you do. And I thank you for always including me. Not to mention, I thank you for supporting me. I honestly know that what I do and what I am, I could not do and be who I am if I didn't have the support of people like you. So thank you.
Absolutely.
And she's a great supporter, y'all.
Beyond worthy of support. If you all are not familiar with Greater Cornerstone Baptist Church, please follow them on all of the social medias that he's not plugging, but follow them on Facebook and go to the website. Greater Cornerstone Baptist Church, Pastor Dr. David E. Wilson. Thank you all. Thanks for tuning in to Big Texas Bossin Podcast. If you like these conversations, be sure to subscribe on YouTube and follow us on all social media platforms at Big Texas Bossin. Tag us on social at #BTB.